lesson 11. So today we're going to look at a question for tariffs. This particular tariff is for telephone. Now, if you notice in the previous lessons, we did water, we did electricity. So we're going to look at a telephone one today, a landline, in fact, not a cell phone. So here it says, Mr. Mkaga is a businessman who resides at extension 7. He has a landline telephone which he uses to contact his clients on a daily basis. Note that he makes calls on a daily basis. A service provider has offered him a choice of 2 different call packages. Call package 1, monthly rental of 150 rands. Now let's note that here rent is a fixed expense for him, so he pays that on a monthly basis. So then he pays, and then it says first 100 minutes are free. So if he uses 100 minutes in 1 month, he will only pay 150 rands. And there will be no charges on the 100 minutes because it's free. In fact, it will be 100 minutes times 0 rands. Okay, so what if he makes more than 100 minutes? Now, this is the part where they say calls cost 0.5, which is 50 cents per minute, right? So here, if he makes a call of 150 minutes, for example, what will happen is the first 100 minutes will be free, and then he will only pay for the 50 minutes. Right. So for call package 1, they've given us a formula. So let's look at the formula. It says total cost in rand is equal to 150 rand. That makes sense that the 150 rand is there because it is a fixed expense, and we always put the fixed expense there at the beginning. And then we say on top of the fixed expense, what else are you going to pay? And then it says plus, right? And in addition to. Then it says 50 cents multiplied by, you see there in brackets, it says number of minutes more than 100. Now, if you remember in taxation, what happens is there's a part in the formulas in taxation that says taxable income above, and then it has an amount there. This is the same thing. So what do you do here? You take the number of minutes that he has made a call of, let's say 150 minutes in this example. And then what you're going to do is, following the formula, you're going to substitute and say 150 minutes, which is what he made calls for, and then the minus the 100 at the end, just like in taxation. All right, let's take a look at call package 2. Monthly rent in call package 2 is not 150, but it is 300 rand. It seems the method is the same. The changes are just that it's the rent this time is 300 rand, because if I look at the first 500 minutes are free, it's the same there, except now the 500 minutes are free. And calls cost 50 cents per minute, so that cost the calls per minute cost the same. Okay, so just comparing the tariff alone, you pay more rent on package 2 than in package 1, but then you get more free minutes. You get 400 more free minutes than in package 1. So you can't say by looking at it which one is cheaper. You would have to do calculation. 1.1 says write down a formula which can be used to calculate the total in rands for call package 2. Now, if you look at package 1, it's similar to package 2. There's not that much of a difference except for the amount of rent and the amount of minutes that are free. So I'm going to copy them by saying that the formula for package 2 is total cost, they said in rands. And I'm just going to note that this formula is for package 2 and not for package 1, since they're so similar. And then I'm going to say, they said I must put in the rent or the fixed cost. It goes there. This time the rent is 300 rands plus the cost per minute is 50 cents. And then I will multiply that by the minutes. But then it says call minutes, number of costs more than 500 rand, right? So the number of minutes They said the minutes that are free is 500. So this time I'm going to say number of minutes more than. So 1.2. For 1.2, if call package 2 is used, determine the total cost in rand if Mr. Mklara made calls with a total duration of 510 minutes. Just by looking at the question, one can tell that 10 minutes is the part that will be more than 500. But you have to use your formula and your calculations and don't just try and guess it. So whenever I'm doing calculations, first I'm going to copy the formula that I'm going to use. And I'm going to use this formula. Total cost is equal to, we're using package 2, which means the rent is 300 plus the 50 cents, which is per call per minute, multiplied by the formula, which says number of minutes. This is where I'm going to substitute my 510, more than 500, more than 500, right? And then I will say total cost is equal to, then I write my 300 plus my 50 cents multiplied by. Okay, so now we substitute. They said he made a calls that amounted to 510. Therefore, here is where these minutes are going to be. 510, the number of minutes, and then we're going to minus the 500 at the end. That way it will give us whatever is more than 500 thing. And then we will say total cost is equal to, I'm just going to write the 300 plus, and then I'm going to minus 510 minus 500 gives me 10 minutes. Then I'm going to multiply and find out how much is 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes is 5 rands. And therefore, my cost will be 305 rands. Okay, let's take a look at the last question here. It says, which call package would you recommend Mr. Mklara to purchase if he makes 700 minutes worth of calls per month? Now here they are asking us to compare between package 1 and package 2, but we can't use the tariff to do that. We have to go find out how much will it cost for package 1 to make 700 minutes and for package 2 to make 700 minutes. And then when we have the two different amounts, we can compare the costs. So now let's make calculations and find out how much it will cost to make 700 minutes. Now remember we said 700 minutes is the question here. Let's not forget that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just substitute. Nothing special that I'm going to do here except for substituting. So what I'm going to do is say total cost is equal to 150 rand, which is the rent, plus the cost of 1 minute multiplied by, and then I'm going to substitute the 700 minutes here minus the 100 at the end, and then I'm going to say 150 rand plus 0.50 multiplied by 700 minus 100 is 600. Therefore, we're only going to charge for minutes, me making too many mistakes. And then let's find out how much is 600 minutes. That is 600 times 0.5, and that will be 300. So 150 plus 300 rands, and we have 450 rands in total cost, right? But that is the package 1. Now let's go to package 2. Okay, so here the formula said total cost is equal to, how much is the rent? 300 plus how much is the minute per call? They said it's 50 cents multiplied by the number of calls. Minutes, not the number of calls, the number of minutes more than 500. More than 500. Okay, so multiplied by that. Now let's substitute. They said he made 700 minutes worth of calls, minus the 500, and then we'll say 300 plus 0.50 multiplied by 700 minus 500 is 200 minutes, and 300 plus 0.5 times 100, that will give us 100 rands, and this one will cost 400 rands. This one is actually cheaper if he's making 700 minutes. What do I say? Calls all the time. 700 minutes worth of calls.